Okay, please. Has the live started? Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, if there's a night. Good morning, if there's morning where you are living. So, greetings from our side. We are ready to play chess to this evening. Mr. Khatri, may I have your screen, please? Here we have the screen of Mr. Khatri. We are ready to rock and roll for some time this evening. Okay, Mr. Khatri, let's begin. Let's have some fun. Here we go, beginning with black pieces. Khatri never misses with black pieces. We have e3 on start. Respond back with c5, b3. Bishop come out at fiancé bishop. Okay, pretty typical start here. Khatri gets double pawn, castle short castling by Mr. White. Oh, the opponent was threatening Mr. Khatri for tripling his pawn, but Khatri refused that. Khatri wants to castle here, but Khatri waits for some time before he castles. Now there's the castle rocking there. Maybe Khatri is trying to invade into the pawn chain. Both of the players have equal development here. However, Mr. White has some good position, good control in the center. I must say, yeah, the pawn exchange there. Rook takes the open file. Another rook offers the exchange. Perhaps no, it doesn't. The bishop pins the knight on f3 square. Maybe now rook will be exchanged. Yes, it will be, I believe. No, Khatri, Mr. White refuses. The rook exchange, the bishop on g4 seems pretty weak there, perhaps. Knight's trying to invade into the black territory, but no, black has some strong gameplay going around. Attacks the knight. The knight is attacked by the rook, attacked by the bishop, but simultaneously it is also protected by both two pieces there. Khatri is trying to go for some mating attack, but I don't think that's viable here. The rook takes the knight. The rooks get exchanged there. The rook must be exchanged here, otherwise Mr. White would be lacking in terms of 0.5. Oh my god, I don't know what sort of idea does Mr. White has, but for this time, Mr. White has sacrificed his rook. 5 point worth of piece, he sacrificed it. I don't know if he missed it, he didn't spotted it, or I don't think. Now, perhaps we'll see before push, the pawn push, and pawn exchange, followed by attack on bishop. The, the queen goes to h2, threading of a check there, but immediately the pawn is pushed. Now the queen is attacked by the dark squared bishop. The queen here has limited square to go to a center of the board, but in the back rank, the queen has some good squares. Here we can see some skewer attack from the rook on e5, perhaps giving check on the king and taking the queen simultaneously. I believe if Mr. Khatri is able to make white to push the pawn on f2, he can create some counterplay on the queen. Here, Khatri is definitely winning this game. From this position, he must win. Perhaps Khatri has withdrawn here his trauma from 6 blunders in the last game of the previous stream. Khatri is trying to play for checkmate here, whereas he missed the attack on a pawn on c6, which was left unprotected there. Again, the pawn on c5 would be remain unprotected like that, but I don't know what idea does Khatri have here. Yes, the pawn on c5 is unprotected, but maybe Khatri is ready with some amazing tactic here. Khatri is anticipating some sort of bishop sacrifice here, perhaps. No, he is going for pawn push, invading into the white territory in the king's side, making the king's side vulnerable. Also, the king's side of Mr. Black, Mr. Khatri, has been weakened by that pawn push. However, Mr. Khatri is certainly winning. White is taking a bit of time here, perhaps picking some getting over idea, but Mr. White has limited space and limited squares to move and abstain from a loss in this position. Perhaps White needs some blunder from Mr. Black if he wants to win. Okay, the queen is placed on center of the board on d5 square. However, Mr. Khatri ignores that queen push and continues with his pawn marching its way to the glory towards the king's side of the Mr. White piece. Here we can see that Mr. Khatri has good control over the center, even though there's a queen of Mr. White. Mr. White is losing by time as well in this position. He is lacking behind by half a minute, and Khatri immediately takes the pawn on z3, making the king even more vulnerable there. Pawn push by Mr. Khatri, I believe, but placing the queen on g4 seems very, very powerful here because he can have some threatening idea there. If the queen is placed on g2, but that's not the case this time. If the bishop takes the bishop, the rook is unprotected, and yes, maybe White is missing something in this position, and Khatri is continuously capitalizing on White's missing spotting. Khatri has to be aware of the queen lurking around the king there. Now Khatri is assigning roles to every piece in this game. Perhaps Khatri can move to b2 and have attacking idea, but Khatri gets a check from Mr. White, immediately defended by Rook, also simultaneously attacks the queen. The queen must move, and it is a check. No, sorry, pardon me. Now it is a checkmate after the bishop moves. Yes, it is a checkmate, and amazing start by Mr. Khatri. The white couldn't spot those mistakes around the table. Such games are a piece of cake for Mr. Khatri. Cup of tea. To begin with e4, Khatri responds back with e5 generally, but let's see what happens in this game. Perhaps Khatri isn't moving, maybe Khatri is having some technical difficulties. Yes, Khatri aborts this game. No, at the end moment, Khatri goes to c5, a user move by Mr. Khatri. Generally, he moves to e5, attack the bishop, pawn exchange, again simultaneously attack the bishop must move away. Offers pawn exchange the yes, the pawn is exchanged, Khatri is ready to castle, both sides have castle, and we are ready for a mid-game. Both of the team has equal space on the center of the board. However, Mr. Khatri has assigned rows to more pieces and is capitalizing onto that moments where he has more pieces on this game, on center of the board. Khatri must maintain this position, maintain this tension on the board to win. He is used to win in this under pressure moments. Attacks the knight perhaps will move central squares. No, it won't. Ignoring the counter attack from Mr. White. In a5, the pawn was pushed. The knight is ready to jump to the center of the board. Meanwhile, the knight on f6 has been pinned by bishop, the dark squared bishop. I think the bishop will be kicked here, or the pin has been broken in this condition. I believe, yes, it has been broken. I think we will see knight bishop exchange here. No, the bishop moves to h4. Maybe he's trying to abstain from an exchange here. The pawn is ready to kick away the bishop here. Yes, the bishop knight sacrifice has been witnessed, and now the bishop has to be kicked. Yes, it is kicked, but the two bishops, the white bishop, are amazingly placed there on g and f files, the leading diagonals of the position. Oh my god, the game has been really tense so far. Both of the team are playing strong. The bishops are amazingly placed. The knight for Mr. Black has been amazingly placed on both of the squares c6 and f6. Yes, the knight has been kicked. The queen will be perhaps attacked. The queen will go to c5. Yes, queen has been attacked. The queen has limited space on center of the board. However, queen attacks the knight. Yes, the rook attacked the queen, and queen took that amazing opportunity to take that knight there. Khatri is now leading with 3 points here. Khatri is ready to take the open file. Offer and rook exchange there. Yes, the rooks are now exchanged. Khatri has amazing position in this game. However, the pawn on d4 has been isolated, defended with a single knight only. The queens are to be exchanged here. Yes, they are exchanged. The pawn on d4 was attacked. The bishop is taken. Now the pawn on d4 is a passer pawn. It can march towards the way of its glory. I think the pawn will come forward to protect its knight. Mr. Khatri is thinking for a bit. The pawn on a3 is also unprotected. Yes, he capitalizes on this opportunity, taking the unprotected piece there. Now the pawn on d4 can march freely towards the way of its glory. Well, we have some twist here. Rook has been actively moving for Mr. White, but I don't think White stand any chance from this position to prevent Black from queening here. The knight sacrifice of Mr. White doesn't seem any good sacrifice right there. The moment when the knight was lost by Mr. White, it was all over. I think Mr. Khatri can again push the pawn and mark its way to glory. Yes, he will push the pawn. Khatri, yes, Khatri wins the game with resignation from Mr. White. Khatri has been gating black pieces continuously in this game. I don't know if Khatri would like to continue with black pieces. Perhaps the screen of Mr. Khatri has frozen. Oh no, it has been continued. Now we get the white pieces. Khatri is ready to rock with white pieces here. D4 to start with. Response back with D5. Bishop comes out to F4. Knight G. Gf3, perhaps no. Khatri is trying to create some amazing pawn chain in the center of the board. The queen was attacked. The knight is now pinned to the queen by the bishop. Perhaps the bishop will be kicked out by the pawn. Yes, it would be. Bishop is now further pushed, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing an unorthodox gameplay, but oh no, that's the typical Khatri move. Khatri goes to G4. The bishop exchange anticipated by Mr. Khatri, provoking his move. Perhaps Mr. Black isn't ready for that exchange. Khatri is ready to push his knight to the center of the board. Jumping towards the center of the board means having more power. More power comes with more responsibility, as they say. Khatri is ready to exchange his bishop. Yes, it is a bishop exchange. I was missing a piece of vocabulary there. Now I have regained it. Khatri has been suppressed by the pawn chain of Mr. Black here. Look at that pawn chain coming to B5, coming to C4. Khatri is constantly being suppressed here. Khatri has perhaps anticipated on passant, but he didn't got it. The knight has been really suppressed here. Mr. Khatri has limited squares to move for his knight here. Perhaps the knight will move to central square E5, but I don't know. The time will tell everything. Time unveils everything, ladies and gentlemen. Khatri is taking some time here. Both of the players have played really well. Now bishop must be exchanged here. I think yes, it will be exchanged for sure. Or Mr. Black will lose some point. No! Black has some other plans rolling around. If knight takes the bishop, immediately the king becomes weak for Mr. Black. I don't know what sort of tactic is he rolling around. Now the king becomes weak. Perhaps Khatri should be able to capitalize on this weakness. Khatri is confused whether he should push the pawn on g4. He is afraid with the tactic of knight coming to e4, later jumping to g2 perhaps. My god, amazing pawn play by both of the players here. The pawn chain for both of the players are strong as a fortress. Now knight exchange has been offered. Perhaps not an ideal thing to do for Mr. Khatri, so he pushes pawn even forward. Khatri hasn't castled yet. The king is really vulnerable for Mr. Khatri. However, the king is still weakness for Mr. Black as well. The London system offers this sort of pawn position. I didn't know, honestly. Oh my god, the queenside pawn scene, I'm really amazed with that. The position has been really locked. Maybe Khatri is trying to play some anti-board position here. Oh, Khatri has found a moment of perpetual, but Mr. Black immediately gives away rook, avoiding any further check there. Maybe Khatri can take the d5 pawn that was unprotected. Or no, Khatri threatens. No, Khatri takes the d5 pawn that was unprotected. Now immediately attacks the rook on a8 as well. Yes, the attack continues. I don't think the queen coming to f6 has any threats there. Perhaps maybe I'm missing on something, but I think the rook on a8 is free to capture. However, here Khatri is lacking behind in terms of time, but gets the resignation from the opponent player, and Khatri continues his win. 3 consecutive wins means amazing confidence built up in Mr. Khatri. Let's see what happens in this game. Khatri gets the black key. Caro-Kann defense to begin with. That really strong defense. Khatri has considered exchange, but again he's confused and taking some time. Khatri is anticipating to do the queen exchange, but with a cost that he uses his knight instead of using the queen itself. But again, white is pushing Mr. Khatri to use his queen for the exchange here. Khatri is taking a bit of time here in this position. Maybe he finds this as a crucial moment in this game. Now we see some exchange. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was the exchange. But here, Khatri is lacking in terms of positional development in this game. I don't know if Khatri is considering positional development a real power in this game. The pawn on c5, however, is unprotected. I don't know if Khatri had spotted that earlier or not, but now Khatri was considering taking the pawn, but the pawn is now protected with the bishop. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is the bishop. Knight x3, the pawn remained unprotected and immediately taken by Mr. Khatri. Again, the pawn on e3 is unprotected. Let's see if white player can spot that or not. Again, white is taking a bit of time here. No, the pawn remained unprotected and even gets a fork. Khatri gets a fork, gets the knight. Well, that was weak gameplay by Mr. White, and Khatri gets 3 points worth of advantage in the heuristic evaluation result. The rook has been attacked. The rook must go to its back rank where it originally belonged, I believe. No, the rook wants to attack the knight. I don't think that was a good move from Mr. Khatri because, well, if you are considering using your bishop, that can be good, but after the castle, everything is fine, I believe. But the knight on c2 remained a little inactive afterwards if this position is locked here. I don't know if Khatri is considering exchange or not, but Khatri is trying to move his knight here. Knight doesn't have any proper square to move. Oh my god, there's the exchange. Again, the rook comes to d8, followed simultaneously by a check. Khatri must move here. Khatri is regretting that move, as I said. Now, Khatri, you must move sensibly, my boy here. Otherwise, there are some mating idea that you must face, okay? Well, Khatri is taking his time. He has 2 minutes remaining, whereas other player has more than 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. The Khatri must do something here, otherwise the opponent will do everything. I don't think Khatri should commit for exchange himself, but he does commit for the exchange and followed by a check from Mr. Rook. The pawn is now taken. Another pawn also taken, I believe, but no, not for now. But the pawn on g7 remained unprotected, and the pawn on b2 has been attacked by Mr. Khatri. Again, the pawn on a7 is unprotected. Easy pawns, pawn feast, all going on for Mr. Khatri there. Well, this game has been pushed to an interesting end by Mr. Khatri. Khatri doesn't have a rook, so it would obviously be hard to move. Khatri must gain some positional tactic here, or Khatri, the best move here is to resign, I believe, but Khatri is considering to play some moves here. Perhaps Khatri is into something. Khatri have found some withdrawing moves or so, I believe, but there's easy checkmate idea for Mr. White here. The knight jumps, gives a check, the rooks move. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Well, I don't think Khatri stand any chance here. when 2 pawns are passes, even 3 pawns are passed for Mr. White. I don't think Khatri stand any good chance. The slim chances for Mr. Khatri is even shrinking here. Shrinking further and further. Khatri has no chance here. Yes, no chance, and Khatri resigns. A first loss for this evening. I believe Khatri will stand strong, redeem his win, redeem his glory in this following match. I believe. Let's start the new game. Beginning with e4, perhaps. No, d4 to begin. Sorry, pardon me. e4 to begin with, followed by Sicilian defense. We see some crazy name for this opening. I cannot even pronounce that. Attack, that is it. I think the bishop will take the knight, forcing for a no. I don't know what Khatri was doing there. Oh my god. I thought that was in fork, but that was not. Oh, the bishop will be taken, I believe. Khatri has lost a bishop, but Khatri has a counterplay rolling around. Khatri gets the rook. Oh yes, he does. After this queen exchange, Khatri will definitely get the rook. Oh my god, the rook for Mr. White is also attacked. Maybe he should consider castling. Okay, Khatri is calculating every of his move there. Khatri is trying to wander around his queen, but I don't think Khatri has some great moves here. Khatri considered castling and he did castle. Well, Khatri lost his chance to get the bishop and lost by 7 points. I think resignation was the best move here. Khatri never misses with black pieces, gets the black pieces, beginning with d4, followed by c6, anticipating some play moves here, but none of that were right. We have Slav defense, followed by modern white defense. The knight coming to the central square, invading into the black territory, perhaps. White has some experience of invasion. Not going any personal here. Khatri has all of his pieces moved except the queen. Khatri, the bishop has been attacked. The queen moves forward in double protection for the Mr. Bishop. Yes, the bishop has been taken by knight, but the knight is immediately counter captured by Mr. Queen. Castling by Mr. Khatri. The short castle was the way here. The pony wants to get central square, but he has limited square to move. Khatri is trying to open up spaces through the pawn chain. The bishop The dark squared bishop for Mr. White hasn't moved yet, but it remains, I believe. Okay, the screen of Mr. Khatri has been frozen, but I am trying to anticipate some moves. Maybe cut. The queen has moved out. Yes, it has. Now the knight attacks the queen. Again, the screen has frozen. I don't know if Khatri is having some internet issues here. Okay, we have regained the internet or the screen. Perhaps Khatri is trying to attack the queen. Yes, he does attack the queen. The queen is now under attack, having limited space to move around. Maybe queen will try to exchange with other queen. Capture back. Okay, the queen has very, very limited space to move. The queen is safe for now at a4 square, but the threat lurks around constantly. The rook on a1 has been attacked by Mrs. Queen. I don't know. Let's say queen. Let's put it right away like this. Only the bishop will be taken anyway. So I think losing bishop is better than losing rook. So bishop will move, I believe. Yes, the bishop moves, but at what cost? Bishop wants to take the rook there. Oh my god, the queen will be attacked here. Attack over attack, counter attack, constantly going on, ignoring threats and rook. Maybe after the queen attack, Khatri anticipates that the bishop will not take the rook. That's a natural gameplay, of course. Instinctive gameplay in this blitz game by Mr. Khatri, having some amazing counterplay. Oh my god, the rook on f8 is still attacked and Khatri misses it. Unfortunately, Khatri will lose the rook, I believe, but now Khatri is immediately lacking behind in terms of points here. Khatri has some losing disadvantage. However, the position of Mr. Khatri is fairly good compared to Mr. White here. White has some good pawns on center, but the pawn chain isn't so useful for Mr. White. The bishops are really powerful, but they are not as active as they should be. The rooks are coming into an active gameplay for Mr. Black, Mr. Khatri. However, Mr. Khatri has losing disadvantage. White can have some crazy checkmate idea going around their mind. Okay, the rooks come to the play, attacks the pawn, simultaneously pinning it with the rook. Oh my god, now Khatri is losing his pawn. I don't know what Khatri is up to. Khatri must have some counterplay here. Otherwise, resignation is a good option here. But I think Khatri believes in John Cena, never giving up. He is taking some time. After some minutes of thinking, Khatri takes his pawn to b4. Oh my god, Khatri is trying to exchange rooks with bishops. Khatri is 4 points behind Mr. White. And the king for